Hey everybody, what's going on? So a few weeks back I did a review on the all-new Sigma 65 f2i series contemporary lens for the L mount. And they also make this for E mount as well. And this seems to be a lens that a lot of people were very interested in. But there was 3 lenses launched that day: the 65 f2, the 35 f2, and the 24 3.5. Well, I want to give a big thanks to Sigma Singapore for providing me the additional 2 lenses. So here are my thoughts on the all-new 35 f2 L mount and the 24 f3.5 L mount I series contemporary lenses by Sigma. Let's talk about them. Okay, so before we get into things, I do want to thank Sigma Singapore once again. Having said that, these are my thoughts and my thoughts only. Now, the cameras I'll be using today are the Lumix S1R with the 35 f2, and of course the 24 3.5 on the Sigma FP. And I got to tell you, just first glance, the 24 3.5 on this FP is a very compact get-up. We'll talk more about that in just a bit. Now, the 35 f2 was a very interesting lens for me to try because in the L mount Alliance, there's only one other 35 f2. And that's from Leica. That is the SL Summicron 35 f2 Oppo. It is a beautiful lens. Leica says it's one of the best lenses, if not the best lens they've ever made to date. And it comes at a very hefty price point. Now, of course, Sigma, with the I series contemporary lenses, coming out at a much more attractive price point for a lot of people out there. But how does this lens perform? I'll tell you, if you just want the Cliff Notes version of this review, this 35 f2 is very impressive. It punches way above its weight class. The build quality is the same as the 65 f2. Metal construction, metal hood. This feels robust. It feels great. The design is fantastic. But the image quality, I would say, is roughly 90% of the Leica lens at a fraction of the price. Very fast autofocusing as well too. But let's talk about what's inside of this lens. So inside of this lens, we have 10 elements, 9 groups. We have 3 spherical elements and 1 SLD element. So there's a lot of great glass inside of this lens. Now, I've had a number of people ask me this question. They say, well, it's an I series lens, so it's not as good as an art lens. And actually, that's not the case. This is pretty much Sigma Art optics inside of a new lineup of lenses called the I series. So it's got that contemporary design, some new design elements from their cinema lens lineup, as well as the art lenses as well. So it's an amalgamation of 3 different lenses in one. So don't discount the optics in these. These are really high performing lenses. But what is it like to use? This 35 f2 is a very fast focusing lens. It's a great street lens. If you're working this on an A7C, for example, an A7S3, or like say a Lumix S5, S1, S1R, even the Sigma FP, it's so fast and so responsive. And it's lightweight, 325 grams for this. It's very lightweight. It's metal construction, it's well built, but you don't feel the weight, and it feels good on any camera I have tried thus far. But overall, it's good. No complaints whatsoever. Anyway, now let's talk about the 24 3.5. So now we've got the baby of the 3 new lenses. This is the 24 3.5. Now, it's on the Sigma FP, looks fantastic. It comes in about 225 grams, so it's really lightweight. That same fantastic build quality we saw in the 35 and the 65 f2, but it comes in an aperture of 3.5. And this sort of perplexed a lot of people as why? Maybe they wanted this to be more for video, I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about what's inside of this lens. You've got 10 elements, 8 groups. You also have 3 spherical elements like the 35 f2 with 1 SLD element. And it goes from f3.5 to f22 on this. You do have a autofocus and manual focus switch, just like on the 35 f2. So this is a full feature lens. I mean, metal hood on this, it's really compact, it's really lightweight, and it's a sharp lens. The one thing about these I series lenses is the one thing that stood out to me is they're very, very sharp. You will see that in Lightroom in just a bit, but also the autofocusing on this is really fast as well. No matter what camera system I've tried this on, and I've tried it on a few, it's always focused really quick. So if you have, let's say, a Leica CL, or you have this Sigma FP or whatever camera you have, and you want a nice street lens to walk around and just capture environmental shots and be kind of non-discreet, this is a great little lens to have with you. Anyway, now let's go into Lightroom and let's take a look at images from the 35 f2 with the 24 3.5. All right, guys, we're now in Lightroom taking a look at images from the Sigma 35 f2 and the Sigma 24 3.5. And there's a variety of different images from street shots to nighttime photography to a little bit of urban street photography, just to show you the versatility of these lenses. Let's start off with the 35 f2. Now, this is a very good performing 35 f2. This was at a Chinese temple, and I saw this bit of smoke in the background and the lighting coming through here, and I thought it'd be very interesting to try this. And this is, of course, after edit. This is before edit and then after edit. Again, edits are personal choice. You might like or dislike, but let's just kind of come in on this real quick. And you got a really nice separation here through the background area this way here. You really do get a nice pop with this lens. Now, the 35 f2, well, people would say, why can't should I go for the 35 1.2 versus the f2 with Sigma? You're talking about a very considerable size in lens difference, okay? Because the 35 1.2 from Sigma is a very large lens, fantastic lens, but I think the 35 f2 for a lot of people will be the sweet spot in terms of size, in terms of performance, and of course in terms of price. And as you can tell right here, it handles a lot of the reflections really well here. No issues at all with that. Even if I take off the edit, I'm really not seeing much aberration or much or any type of fringing whatsoever. It's really well controlled, and I'm really happy with the overall image in that regard. Let's take a look at another image here. Let's turn in terms of sharpness. Now, this was also at another Chinese temple where we were at, and I saw this rooftop here. This was on a sort of a display set, and just going in on this, look at how detailed this is. Look at the sharpness on this. I mean, this is very, very impressive. And I did talk a little bit about, of course, there's the 35 f2 from Leica, the SL Summicron, which Leica touts as their best overall lens they've ever made to date. And it is a fantastic lens. And I would say that the Sigma's about 80 to 90% of that lens. Of course, there is a considerable price difference, but you pay thousands more for that 5 to 10% difference in lenses. And that's why there is a difference in the quality of lenses. But I have to say, for a majority of people out there, if you are in the L mount alliance, this 35 f2 will do more than enough for you in terms of image quality, in terms of sharpness, in terms of separation and bokeh. It's a very, very impressive lens for the price. And, you know, I was shooting this on the S1R, a lot of room to edit with that a little bit, and happy with the image. Let's go to some low light performance shots. And this is, of course, with the Leica SL2S. I did show this in my review with that camera. And I was very happy with the performance of this lens. Of course, now I did do some edits to this. Again, edits are personal choice. You might like or dislike, but want to kind of give it more of that kind of neon vibe to it. And again, I mean, I was quite a distance away from the restaurant here and the people inside the restaurant, but I want to capture this sort of condensation on the window with the name of the restaurant just in there. I thought it was quite interesting with the lights. And I mean, as you can see in low light performance, let me just give you some information on this. This is an ISO 2500 35 f2, 1/60th of a second, and I'm really happy with the end results out of this image. Can't complain at all, especially in low light. Here's another low light shot with the SL2S. Again, this lens does really well in low light. Handles all the colors, all the lights happening here with no issues at all. So again, solid performing lens. Let's move over to the 24 3.5 for a minute here. And this lens I really enjoyed using. And I wasn't sure about the 3.5, but then as I started using this lens a little bit more, I realized this lens might be geared more for videographers and also for, of course, street and landscape photographers out there, because you're probably not going to go down to 1.4 or maybe even an f2 at a 24 millimeters if you really want to capture like an entire building like this in focus. You probably want to stop it down a little bit more so you get optimal sharpness and really capture all the angles as you'd want to. And I think that this lens performed exceedingly well in that regard. It is sharp. You can see the details right here. This has been edited. Let me show you the before edit. So obviously there was a lot of in terms of raising the shadows and really boosting up the exposure in there due to where the light was hitting on this. But I'm really happy with this image overall. This lens performed very well. Shockingly, it performed better than I thought it was going to perform. Here's another street shot during Chinese New Year. Yes, the clouds were like this. Here's the before edit. Here's the after edit, before edit, after edit. So I just sort of accentuated the highlights and the shadows a bit more. But again, the details and the signage here all throughout. I have to say, this lens for the price point, is really a home run. And in the L-mount Alliance, you really don't have an option for a 24 prime at this time. I mean, Leica is supposed to come out with one, but again, that will be thousands of dollars more than this Sigma 24 3.5. Here's another shot here I thought was quite interesting, and I just kind of shot up on a building here. And this is at ISO 100, 24 3.5, 1/1250th of a second. And this is before edit, after edit. I kind of like the way the black and white and the clouds kind of come into this. I thought it was quite interesting and give it just much more of a different feel. And again, we want to zoom in on this. The building looks great. And at 3.5, I'm getting everything I need to be in focus. Really happy with it. No issues at all. And it's also a very lightweight lens too. So if you just want to have one lens and kind of go, just walk around the streets with, say, your Sigma FP or a Leica or Lumix S5 or even a Leica, it's going to fit the camera. It's going to be lightweight and it's going to perform really well. And here's one last shot I'll show you. Here's an artist. And as you can see, I mean, relatively good detail here on this. Very happy with it. 24 millimeters is a nice focal length to really capture street photography. I'm not a big fan of 28 millimeters, but I feel 24 is a different perspective, and you can really, when you capture a good scene in 24 millimeters, it really just draws you to the image a little bit more, in my personal opinion. So I'm kind of glad Sigma went with the 24 versus the 28. I know how they have a 28, which a lot of people do like, but I think this 24 is going to fit most people's needs overall. But, you know, I have to say, this lens performed very well. You know, from the 35 f2 here, just going through a lot of these images, you know, these are before edits and after edits, of course. I'm really happy with the performance out of these lenses, especially for the price point. You really can't go wrong with it. And Sigma's just knocked it out of the park once again. I mean, look at this image right here. This is, decided to go black and white, the color, but look at this when you come in on this. The detail right here on the handkerchief. It's a fantastic lens, guys. I highly, highly recommend them. All right, so as we saw in Lightroom, of course, the images are really sharp. Really good coloring coming out of these lenses here. There's a little bit of a different color cast coming out of these new Sigma lenses, which I really like. It's got a nice little warmer tone to them than previous. The previous Sigma lenses, like the 35 1.2 and stuff, had been a little bit more of a greenish cast, at least from my perspective. But these have a much more warm, really inviting tone to the lens out of, you know, straight out of camera. Then, of course, when you edit it, of course, you can change all that. But I really like the performance of this I-series lens lineup. I mean, I love the 65 f2. The 35 f2 is fantastic. The 24 3.5, while I wish it was a bit of a faster lens instead of 3.5. I mean, so you could use it in more, you know, more versatile situations like nighttime or whatever the case without cranking up the ISO. It is what it is, and for someone that is really on a budget and you really want a good 24 3.5 for your L mount, there's really not many other options out there, right? Sigma's pretty much it. I mean, Leica's supposed to come out with a 24 millimeter, but we all know the price of those lenses, and yeah, I mean, that'll be an f2, but you're gonna pay a lot more. So, I like them. I really like these lenses, and I think a lot of you out there who have tried the I-series from I've seen on Facebook groups and on forums have really liked them as well. But any questions you have on these lenses, let me know in the comments section below. Like always, follow us on Facebook, like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube. Be safe out there, and we'll chat to you soon. Take care.